sometimes change is needed, and the only way to get there is by actually going against the grain. Now, this isn't something that I'm claiming is like super special that I've done. I just got really freaking heated the other day at the end of a question period live stream, and I just ranted and ranted about the conservatives and how they're failing right now. Because let's be honest, we're not against Justin Trudeau. So it's not easy layups. If they want Mark Carney to really be the bad guy that they say they want him to be, then they have to start bringing something to the table. And if I'm being totally honest, Mark Carney and his 2% commitment to our GDP for NATO contribution, that's something that Pierre wanted to do. That's something that Pierre said he would do by 2030, and Carney's doing it immediately. Now, where he's getting the money from? Who cares? It's our defense. Point is that right now, Mark Carney is kind of doing some conservative things, and the conservatives are not doing anything. So where are we left? Well, we're left twiddling our thumbs, and we're angry. Who are we angry with? You can be angry with me. Hell, I'm angry with myself most of the time. But you can also, if you're a conservative, be angry with the Conservative Party. Who would have thought? You can actually criticize them. Who would have thought? We're not in an election. What's the worst that can happen? Pierre's going to lose his seat? Whoops. So now we're reevaluating our priorities and our strategies. And so what's the priority? The priority is getting back to conservative values, getting back to pointing out the government flaws, which the conservatives, they just kind of lost their mojo. Really? I mean, am I the only one that sees it? Apparently not, because on my rant video, it exploded and a bunch of people have come out of the woodworks going, hey, I agree with you. Awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. So here we are. We're not happy with the conservatives. And that's okay. You're allowed to be not happy with the team that you're cheering for. You're allowed to be frustrated. So what are we going to do about it? Well, I don't know. Use the comment section as a soundboard. Throw your ideas down below. But in the meantime, we're going to take a look at today's video. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage you all to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. It does really help grow the channel. We got a lot of things lined up today, so I hope you stick around for the full thing. And here's what we're going to start with. Elon Musk walks back post about Donald Trump. Huh? Who would have thought? Who would have thought that posting things about your boss would be so bad?
And new this morning, Elon Musk is walking back some of the things he said about U.S. President Donald Trump. Musk posting on social media, quote, "I regret some of my posts about President Trump last week. They went too far." He did not elaborate on which of the many posts he was talking about. Musk suggested he was the reason President Trump won the election, and also claimed that Trump was connected to the Epstein files in a post he later deleted. From our country. This spat started after Musk criticized President Donald Trump's big, beautiful spending bill.
See, again, you're allowed to criticize the people that you're cheering for. In fact, that criticism usually stems from a place of love. So they're doing it in America, and we should sure as shit be doing it here in Canada. Next, we're taking a look here at how the U.S. Appeals Court agrees to keep Donald Trump tariffs in place. Ay, ay, ay. Let's take a look.
U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs will remain in place for now. A federal appeals court has agreed to keep most of President Trump's tariffs while it moves through the judicial system. The decision extends an emergency stay granted after a lower court found them to be unlawful. This appeals court has ordered a fast-track schedule to hear the case.
Right. So in terms of Canada and the tariffs with America, I firmly believe, like I'm under the actual impression that Mark Carney sat down with President Trump and Trump told them, now this is just my speculation, but that Trump said to Carney, if you bring your defense spending up to over 2%, which is the minimum, we're going to drop the tariffs. We're going to drop the tariffs. And now U.S. and Canada are actually exchanging documents outlining a possible terms for a trade deal, which coincidentally happens right after Canada commits to hitting the 2% of our GDP for a defense contribution this year. So the tariffs, they might be on right now, but I don't think that they'll be on for very long. Trade war is going to be coming to an end. We're going to be healing with America, and the liberals are going to be praised for doing such a great job of fixing the tariffs and spending on our defense. Like, it's just insane. It's insane how good this all makes the Liberals look to the world, to the media, to regular Canadians, right? That don't necessarily have a political bias. Removing the tariffs and increasing our defense spending. Those are two big things. And that's a tough pill to swallow, especially as a conservative. Now, if only the conservatives were doing a little bit of something to get in on this and take a little bit of the credit somehow or oppose something, then maybe it wouldn't all be the Liberals taking the glory. But right now it is. Yikes.
Breaking news to bring you out of Washington this hour. It appears there is movement in the trade negotiations between Canada and the U.S. The CBC's Katie Simpson joins us now live from D.C. Katie, what have you heard?
Closely, and it appears there is some progress, but I'm going to give a big caution as we get to a point here, though. Those talks between Canada and the U.S., they have now gotten to a point that a document outlining a potential agreement has been shared back and forth by officials in Ottawa and Washington. That is according to three sources with direct knowledge of the information who've spoken with either me or with my colleagues at Radio Canada. Now, sources are making it extremely clear a deal is not imminent and there's more work that needs to be done, and that they're not expecting an agreement before the G7 summit next week. But we have learned a little bit about what's in this document. According to one source, it includes a commitment from Canada to participate in the Golden Dome missile defense strategy. That is a controversial proposal from U.S. President Donald Trump that could end up costing hundreds of billions of dollars and take years to develop. It also highlights Canada's recent commitment to it meeting its NATO defense spending targets, Canada's plan to make further security investments in the Arctic, and the previously announced measures to highlight border security. Now, Canada is pushing for tariff relief from the Americans, but what the Trump administration is willing to commit to at this point, that remains unclear. There are a wide range of tariffs imposed on Canadian goods, though there are also carve-outs and some exceptions in some cases. The biggest challenge right now is those higher tariffs just imposed on steel and aluminum. Most U.S. trading partners are now facing a 50% tariff, and that is not something that Trump appears to be backing away from anytime soon. Now, Canadian and U.S. officials have been in contact weekly ever since Prime Minister Mark Carney's visit to the White House. I'm told the talks are slowly making progress. One source said to me, this week was better than the week before. But again, the source is emphasizing these are not traditional trade talks. This is about reaching a broad agreement related to trade and security rather than detailed, technical, specific trade negotiations.
See, the key in there is trade and security. And the way that this gets talked about, people mostly just hear trade. Okay, American trade deal. Well, Freeland and the Liberals have negotiated that in the past. Yeah, but it's not just trade. It's also security. If Canada pulls its part on the security, then we're going to get back to trading and no tariffs. It's already written in stone. So the tariffs is just a ruse. It's just Trump strong-arming Canada and other countries, most likely, to put more money into their defense. It's brilliant. If I'm being totally honest, it's brilliant. I mean, they didn't really do that with the freaking border. Remember that? You gotta secure your border. And we didn't really do an adequate job at first. Trudeau didn't take it seriously. And then Trump said, tariffs for Canada until you secure your borders. And then all of a sudden, helicopters get deployed, men and women get deployed, more money gets put in, the dogs, the cats, everything, the whole shebang. And all of a sudden, okay, well, good job, Canada, but we're going to tariff you anyways for other reasons. And now we're finding out it's the defense. So he's getting what he wants, a secure border and more defense for Canada. I can't freaking blame him. I'm not saying that it's a good thing, but Canada needed to put more money into our defense and secure our borders. And Trump found a way to strong arm us into doing it. It's brilliant. I don't agree with the tactics, but, if you're in that position, chances are we kind of would have done the same thing. So it sucks that Canada only invests in itself when he is bullied around. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, we're not volunteering to put more money into our defense. We're not volunteering to secure our borders and to tackle the drug crisis in Canada. We're waiting for America, the big bad bully in quotation marks, to be like, hey, fix it or we're gonna make you bankrupt with tariffs, right? And okay, we were going to do that anyways. You got to trust us. You got to trust us. I mean, it's just art of the deal. What do you call it? Grounding, centering, freaking tariffing. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy that Canada is such a weakly managed country that the only way our managers, our leaders put more money into us instead of sending it to Ukraine is when America says that we have to do it. But yeah, sure, we're a sovereign country, right? We're a sovereign country. Frig, what a joke.
And so, Katie, where do things now go from here? A lot of detail there.
Yeah, so the big thing is to watch is the G7 summit coming up next week in Alberta. Everyone who's there is going to want a piece of the Americans because everyone's dealing with this sort of nightmare scenario where they're trying to either get out of trade or get out of tariffs, find some way to reach an agreement with the United States so that trade can continue and economic relationships can continue as they have in the past. The Americans have made it very clear they want to reset the trade agenda. They want terms that are favorable to American workers and American businesses, and this is something that Donald Trump campaigned on and is working very hard to try to implement. So the big thing is, will Canadians be able to sort of keep these talks moving in a right direction? Will they be able to make some progress on this? And the big thing to look for next, obviously, is going to be getting something in paper. There can be agreements. People can say, you know, a deal has been reached. But again, it all comes down to what are people going to actually get on paper from the Trump administration, because that's when you know the specifics and what has been confirmed and committed to.
So Canada is going to become this battleground during the G7 for all other countries to be like, hey. Now that we've got your time, Mr. President, can we talk about trade? Can we talk about this? Can we talk about that? I mean, this is kind of hilarious because also at the same time, you've got Modi coming here. Modi in India, they're not part of the G7, but it's been this tradition since 2019, apparently, for India and Modi to attend these G7s. And now Canada is heavily protesting it, not like the government, but the radical NDP, the crazy left-wing nut jobs are protesting India's prime minister showing up here going, oh, blah, blah. It's so weird. It's so weird. And speaking of weird, we got to talk about how Elon Musk, after his crazy meltdown last week, calling Trump a whole bunch of names, has now apologized. Literally on X. I mean, here we go. You have Elon Musk, a verified account, 221 million followers, saying, I regret some of my posts about President Donald Trump last week. They went too far. And you've got Retard Finder saying, well done. We all have our moments of retardation. Good on you for posting us. So everybody is sucking up to Trump right now. And I don't blame them. I don't blame him at all. I don't blame Elon Musk for apologizing. He should never said some of the things he said. And a lot of countries are probably going to be apologizing to Trump at the G7, except for a party in Canada, the radical left NDP. Here's what they have to say about India showing up to the G7 in Alberta next week. Oh, my goodness.
And Mr. Speaker, you called out arms exports to Saudi Arabia, India, yet those leaders are coming to Canada for the G7 summit. So do you have concerns with that? Like, do you think...
Yes, I have deep concerns with that. I think all Canadians, we've heard from across Canada, we're all Canadians that are concerned about foreign interference, all Canadians who are concerned with the protection of human rights are deeply alarmed when we see people like the Indian Prime Minister Modi being invited to Canada after he has been accused of orchestrating the death of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil. Obviously what he has done against dissidents and human rights activists within his own country is appalling. We now know that the Saudi leader has also been invited, and obviously the attacks on journalists and on human rights defenders from his perspective, that's appalling. For me, what it indicates is that this government has consistently and very clearly chosen profits and the economy over human rights, over people. We've seen that within Canada. We've seen the way that Bill C-5 seeks to override the rights of Indigenous people across this country, and we see this with this invitation. It's deeply alarming for a government who has no coherent foreign policy that is not using any sort of a feminist lens to determine that foreign policy. And
India's like the largest democracy in the world, and they're a massive trade partner for Canada. And this absolute nut job is all about, this is the thing, this is what's wrong with politics, is it's become all about feelings over facts. And that's a huge no-no. Politics is supposed to be facts over feelings. But these people have lost their way. They're absolute freaking loony bins, man. They're insane. Like, she would claim, this woman has claimed that she unequivocally stands, I know it's like controversial, but with Gaza, she like, why go to Gaza then? Go to Gaza. Go to India and protest them. Like, what are you doing? You can always tell what the NDP is going to support because it's the opposite of common sense. It's the opposite. It's always like clockwork. It happens every single time with every single thing.
And who has clearly made profit over people their mantra at this moment. I don't think that's what Canadians voted for.
Are profit and people interchangeable, though? I mean, on one hand, the economy does have quite a bearing on people's cost of living. That was one of the major concerns of the election.
I think all Canadians expect their government to be able to have, provide good family-sustaining jobs, but not at the expense of human rights, not at the expense of taking away the rights of people. Canadians rightly have pride in this country for being the country that, was not always the biggest, not always the most powerful, but often played that convening role or played that moral role of being there. We talked about Lloyd Axworthy. I think of him often, and how we were the basis for the international criminal justice system. We were the basis for so many of the disarmament treaties that have happened in this world, and yet at this moment in time, Canada's absent. We are basically our foreign policy is a shadow of the United States at a time when we should be moving away from the United States.
No, we should not be moving away from the United States. This is the problem with Canada, is there's just so much division within our political parties. Like, people will just oppose things that are good for the sake of opposing them. Doesn't make any sense. We should be trying to expand our relationship with America. And yeah, we can expand our trade as well, as there's not a conflict of interest with America. But our priority is working with America, because at the end of the day, they keep us safe. Without America, Canada is the most vulnerable country in the entire world. We have so much land. We have such little resources to actually do anything about it. Now, all that's changing because we're putting more money into our defense, but still, we need like $1 trillion investment into our defense to cover all of Canada, not just the southern border of Canada and America, right? Because that's where like 98% of Canadians live, is along that border within like 20 miles of it or something like that. No, we need a lot of money. We need a lot of resources. We need a lot of stuff. And the NDP, they just don't know what the hell they're doing. But anyways, I'd love to know what you guys think about all this stuff. What the heck is wrong with Canada, eh? What the heck is wrong with Canada? That, ladies and gentlemen, concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Sincerely. If you did, it'd be super awesome for you guys to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet already. It does really help grow the channel, and I'll see you in another video